Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be here. Good to see you all. We'll be getting very friendly over the next few weeks. We finished today the IOC session, or the first part of the IOC session, I should say, and we'll be here to report back on that, but obviously only really one topic on everyone's minds, and that's the games starting very shortly. President of the IOC, you know. I'm also joined by Christoph Duby, Executive Director for the Olympic Games, and on my far left is Brian McCluskey, who's the Chair of the Medical Expert Panel. So the President will make a few introductory remarks, and then I'm happy we'll go straight into questions and answers. So, President, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening to all of you, and thank you very much for your interest in the Games. We are just 24 hours away of the opening ceremony. The athletes have arrived. The latest number I got is 2,470 athletes are here. Most of you and your colleagues have also arrived here in the meantime. So we can say Beijing is ready. The amazing venues are ready, the Olympic villages are ready, and most important, the athletes are ready. We all together, I think we can feel very safe in this closed loop, despite the challenges of a global pandemic. What we have seen so far is that this closed loop is really highly efficient. But it depends, of course, on the understanding and respect for the rules of each and everyone. And there I would just like to take this opportunity to thank you and all your colleagues and everybody who is in the closed loop for respecting these rules, and in this way making a great contribution to a safe Olympic Winter Games. From tomorrow on, Beijing will officially be the first city to host summer and winter editions of the Olympic Games. It is well prepared in many respects. I think the most impressive and the most important achievement in the preparations is the fact that more than 300 million Chinese people have been introduced to winter sport during the preparation for these Olympic Games. Therefore, we can say today China is a winter sport country. And this participation of 300 or more than 300 million Chinese people. Today, the president of the Chinese Olympic Committee was referring to the national statistics of China. He gave the more precise number of 346 million there. With this new participation, there is a new era for global winter sport, and this high participation will change the landscape of the global winter sport and of the global winter sport industry forever. But it also opens an enormous new fan base for the athletes. They will not only have the opportunity here to present themselves in China to these new winter sports enthusiasts and fans, they also have the opportunity with their performance, with their appearance, to win over many fans for themselves and for their sport for the time after these Olympic Winter Games. And therefore, our gratitude goes to the organizing committee and the people of China and to these new winter sports enthusiasts for making these games possible and for engaging so much in not only in the games, but also in winter sport. The mission of these Olympic Games, like any Olympic Games, is bringing the world together in peaceful competition, uniting humankind in all our diversity, always building bridges, never ever erecting walls. And in the Olympic Games, with this mission, we are all, and we must be, all equal, irrespective of social background, gender, race, sexual orientation, or political belief. In the Games, in the Olympic Village in particular, there is no discrimination whatsoever. We can only achieve and we can only accomplish this mission to unite everybody in this peaceful competition if the Olympic Games stand above and beyond all the political disputes. This is also only possible if the Olympic Games and the IOC are politically neutral and do not become a tool to achieve political goals. Our responsibility is to ensure that all athletes who are qualified can come together for this competition, can come to the Olympic Games. And this we have achieved. This approach of the political neutrality and of this unifying mission enjoys the wide support of the international community. This you can see in particular from the Olympic Truce resolution, which was adopted by consensus by the UN General Assembly, by all 193 UN member states. And this support is even strengthened and emphasized again by the fact that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the President of the United Nations General Assembly, Abdullah Shahid, have accepted our invitation to attend these Olympic Games. President Shahid will run with the Olympic torch tomorrow, and it will be my special honor to hand the Olympic flame over to him as the last runner before the flame is entering the stadium then in the evening for the opening ceremony, where both Mr. Guterres and Mr. Shahid will be our guests and will be present. We have also yesterday received with great appreciation a message of support from Pope Francis, who expressed his support for the IOC and the IPC and the Games yesterday. And here allow me to quote, he said, I wish the great Olympic and Paralympic family a unique experience of human brotherhood and peace. Blessed are the peacemakers, end of quote. We are very grateful for this encouragement and for this strong sign of support for our approach with regard to the mission of the Olympic Games. And this is why we are so confident that we will here enjoy in being able to celebrate excellent Olympic Winter Games 2022.
Thank you very much, President. Okay, in times of COVID, obviously we have to be a little bit careful with the microphones, so please wait to be asked and then go up to the microphone. Let's start with the lady here, and then we'll go to Carlos from Reuters. Yeah. And we'll try to get through as many of you as we can in the time. So yes, please, your question.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Happy Chinese New Year to all of you. Dear President, question from CCTV Yolu. Nice to see you in Beijing again. But first of all, I just want to say, this time I want to raise my question in Chinese. Are you ready? Is that okay? Okay, thank you. I just want to explain why, because in the last 10 years...
If I do not have to answer in Chinese, it's okay.
You could try, at least 过年好. In the last 10 years, just because during preparing, I raised question in 10 years was in English, but this time because we are host, so forgive me.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just let the President get his earpiece in and then we can...
Which channel I have to...
Is it so complicated? I can't speak in English.
No, we're coming.
Okay. Thank you. So my question is, 我们现在所在的这个新闻发布厅是立春厅。明天中国的北京2022年奥运会开幕正逢中国的立春时节，立春意味着春天的到来。所以我想问一下，在经历了2年，在穿越了2年的人类的幽暗隧道之后，主席您现在是否感觉到了春天将来了？还有在过去的6、7年间，中国人为了这届奥运会做出了很多艰苦的努力。您想对我们的人民，包括就是 CCTV5 的所有的受众们说些什么？谢谢。
Thank you.
We are very grateful for all the efforts having been undertaken by the organizing committee, by the Chinese people in the last 7 years of preparation, and for their unwavering support for these Olympic Winter Games. And I must say I'm really touched to see when you look around and when you speak with the people, unfortunately only in the loop, but when you watch TV, that you see the Chinese people from all walks of life embracing these Olympic Winter Games and taking it as a great start for the Spring Festival. You can see so many initiatives in the world of culture, be it literature, be it painters. You can see it in the world of science. You see it with the school children and in the schools, and so on and so on. This is really the Olympic spirit and the welcome culture here, which what I know also from many talks with the athletes, which the athletes enjoy very much, and which is also touching me personally.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Reuters here, and then yes, the two of you over there next.
Carlos Groman from Reuters. Mr. President, I have a question regarding your meeting with Peng Shuai, which you announced a few weeks ago that would be taking place during the Olympics. Has there been any progress regarding that meeting? Will you be meeting her during the Olympics? Thank you.
The answer is yes. We will have the meeting. I'm very happy and also grateful to Peng Shuai that she will enter in order to have this meeting because she also wanted to have this, as we had discussed it in November. Therefore, she will enter the closed loop for having this meeting, and once the procedures have finished, then we will have our meeting.
Okay, the two journalists here, yeah. I'm afraid from up here it's hard to see you all, but yes, please ask your question. That's great.
Yes. Thanks, Mark. Question from Xinhua. Tomorrow the games will be officially kick off. So if we look back the 7 years preparations, do you think you made a right decision when choosing Beijing as the host city, especially in the face of the COVID? And also you said you believe Beijing will set a new benchmark for the Olympic movement. So in which aspects do you think Beijing has set a new benchmark? Thank you.
With regard to the pandemic to which you're referring, I think we all, can be a witness to the fact that China there is doing everything meticulously to make the games safe for every participant, and can do this based, on a very low figure compared to most of the countries of the world. And does this with this concept of the closed loop, which also makes us feel very safe. And for what we are, I think, particularly grateful is the fact that also all the Chinese people working with us, that they make this sacrifice entering this closed loop, and being subject to the same testing procedures and other protocols like the foreign participants. This again, creates an excellent spirit. And with regard to the overall, I think this impression and that the games will be very special and opening new opportunities. I think there I can refer again, to the 300 million or more than 300 million Chinese people. Such figures, I guess, you can only achieve in China. And this is a unique achievement, opening a new era for not only for winter sport in China, but for the global the winter sport. Imagine if you look at these figures, if only a percentage of these 346 million people would continue in the long term practicing winter sport. Imagine what this means for the global winter sport and for the participation. This is another league. These are completely new levels.
Yes, there's a lady, just next to our colleague from Xinhua, and then we'll come across. I think it's Christine.
Hello, Mr. President. Question from Xinhua News Agency. So the Beijing Winter Olympics have the lowest ever gender gap at the Winter Olympics, with 47.25% of the total medals being contested by female athletes. So what do you think it means to the Olympic movement? Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is one of our goals. In Olympic Agenda 2020, we have set this goal to make the Olympic Games gender balanced. We have achieved it for the first time in the Summer Games last year, where we had a gender balance. We will have full gender parity then in Paris in 2024 with the same number of women athletes and events for men and women. We had gender parity in the last Winter Youth Olympic Games, and we have made good progress here, going from 41% of female participation in Pyeongchang to 45% here, and at the same time increasing the number of events. In particular, there are also the mixed events, where we have a growth, where we have established a growth of 50%, going, if I'm correct, Christoph, from 8 mixed events in Pyeongchang to 12 here in Beijing. And the clear target, the clear goal is then in Milano Cortina to be with the Winter Games where we are with the Summer Games, means parity between men and women participating in the Games.
Okay, I think I saw is it Christine there? Yeah. Oh. And then just in front, gentlemen, and then we'll come down to you two. In a second, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Christine Brennan, USA Today. Mr. Bach, I know how much you care about women's sports and equality and opportunity for women. And one of the biggest issues for women in the world, as we all know, is the Me Too issue, the issue of sexual assault and allegations of sexual assault. The world's biggest Me Too story, an issue over the last few months, has been Peng Shuai. As you are aware, she spoke eloquently and importantly about a sexual assault allegation against a former top Chinese official. I've asked Mark about this. I want to ask you now and give you an opportunity to speak to it. She's a three-time Olympian. And in the two conversations you've had, you have not told us anything about what you want to do to investigate or look into the issue of her very important allegation against sexual assault. We do know, after the fact, many weeks later, she said it wasn't true. I don't know anyone who believes that. Certainly the Women's Tennis Association does not believe that, recanting, and is asking for an investigation. What do you plan to do about the sexual assault allegation, and do you plan to ask or seek an investigation? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for this question. To be clear, I was only in one of these calls, of a number of calls, which have been taking place since November. The last one, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, between members of our IOC team and Peng Shuai. Our approach was and is, first of all, in the interest of Peng Shuai, to answer the question, which was really our question, and also touching us and concerning us from the human point of view. The question was, where is Peng Shuai? And this is why we took this approach to get in contact, to get to know where she is, and as far as possible how she is. And this you can only achieve if you take contact. If you do not take contact, if you just make a declaration with about the status, you don't get any further normally. So this is why we took this contact, and then in order to find out as much as possible whether the basic, maybe the most important human right, her physical integrity, is ensured. And there, what better way than to have a personal meeting? This is why already in the first meeting I took the initiative and said I want to meet personally once I arrive here in China. And this will happen. And then in all these conversations, it is also, I think, a sign of, not only a sign of respect, it's a necessity then to respect her, and then to listen to her and how she sees the situation, how she wants to live her life. And this is what we are, step by step trying to find out. And if she wants to have their inquiry, of course we would also support her in this, but it must be her decision. It's her life. It's her allegations. We have had the allegations, and we have heard the withdrawal, and we will have this personal meeting, and there we will continue this conversation, and then we will know better also about her physical integrity and about her mental state when we can finally meet in person. And this was the objective of this initiative from the very beginning.
Yeah, gentleman just there, and then I will come to you too, Danny. You've been waiting very long. I know this Graham over there. Yeah.
Jonathan Crane from Deutsche Welle in Germany. A question on Rule 50. One of the conditions of athletes being allowed to protest at the Olympics is the line, and I'll quote it, "When expressing their views, athletes are expected to respect the applicable laws." So my question to you, President Bach, is what exactly are these applicable laws here in China? And what guarantees can you personally give athletes that they'll be safe if they choose to express whatever view they want at these games? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Olympic Games are governed by the IOC rules, and this is in the host city contract and in the Olympic Charter. And we have no reason there to believe that this would not be respected. There maybe then Christophe Duby can still report about his experience in discussions there and assurances. So there it's the IOC rule is the rule 50, and at this point the rule 50.2. And there the procedures are very clear, that in case of any infringements, then the IOC Disciplinary Commission will take care of this, and this is the same situation as we had in Tokyo. There is no difference. The rules have not changed, and the attitude of the IOC has not changed. And there sometimes I have the impression that when we discuss this Rule 50, and that there can be no demonstration on the field of play or in the ceremonies, that some people they believe that this is unique in the Olympic Games. This is by far not the case. This kind of rules exist in many, if not all, walks of life. Take an actor. If an actor is engaging in a theater playing Hamlet, then nobody ever asked the question whether then when playing Hamlet he must or should or can express then during the play his political opinion. And the same is true therefore the athletes. And when the curtain falls, then the actor can go to his locker room and he can take his mobile device and can send a message to the social media, or when he is leaving the theater and the press is awaiting him, that they can make comments. But nobody would ever think of saying that this is a non-justified restriction of the freedom of speech if you cannot make a political statement on the stage of a theater or in a music hall or in many other places. There, everybody has always to know you have your individual freedom, and I have political opinions. And athletes can have political opinions. But when you join an organization, when you engage in an event, be it the actor in the theater, be it the athlete in the games, you have to respect the rules which are made in the overall interest of the organization you're engaging with. The theater can only work if they play the plays. And the games can only work if it's about sport and the rules of the game are respected and the mission of the games is respected. So it's not a rule which is unique to the games or to sport.
Thank you, President. Christoph, did you want to add anything on?
Yes, maybe one it's even not a precision, but just to enforce the argument. In 2015, we're here at the time of the candidature, and this is a guarantee we ask, and this is a guarantee we obtain. Since then, we've had the conversation many times, and in no equivocal terms. Never we have been under the impression that the IOC would not be the decision-making when it comes to Rule 50.2. Now, one thing that has evolved, and for the better, is the clarification regarding, as you said, President, the 3 areas where the athletes themselves have decided that there would be no demonstration, and this is the field of play, the ceremonies, and the medal ceremonies. So, of course, we've worked with the organizing committee already in Tokyo, and I've further explained this rule here in the context of Beijing. But again, this was a rule established by the athletes for the athletes. Respect the dignity of the moment and the place.
Thank you very much, Christoph. Yeah, these 2 gentlemen here, and then we'll come to you, sir, in a minute, but I have to get around everyone who's been asking, so I'll try to, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm a reporter from China Global Television Network, CGTN. My question is, the Beijing Winter Olympics is the first Winter Olympics to be held under the Olympic motto, together. How do you interpret the idea of the togetherness in the Olympics when there are so many divisions, competitions, and rivalries in the world today, particularly today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that the meaning is twofold. The together is reflecting on the unity in all our diversity of the games. Here everybody is coming together to have a peaceful competition. The other meaning is that we have realized in particular, and we have learned it maybe the hard way, during the pandemic, that in fact we can address the many challenges of life in our interdependent world only in solidarity, means by working together. The pandemic, even if in one country you would have no virus anymore, the pandemic would not be over. Climate change. No country, no organization in the world can solve the problem of climate change. And you can, go on with this list. And the athletes, and in sport, I think we know this particularly well. Every athlete knows that he can only live the Olympic motto, that he can only go faster, that he can only aim higher or become stronger if he's surrounded by a team, if he is assisted by fans, and if he has a great coach, and if he has a good physio. So the work together in the motto also, shows the way how to achieve the goals of the Olympic motto.
Thank you very much. Yeah, gentlemen here, and then we'll go to Sir in the black top, and Wakako after that. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve Futterman from CBS News. Nice to see you, President Bach, again. I wanted to clarify something that was asked just before on the Rule 50.2. So I understand what you're talking about, especially when you talk about actors performing. They don't make their comments. They do what they have to do to perform. They read their lines and everything. And I understand what you talked about in the field of play, the medal ceremony. I've seen situations, though, where actors do make political statements, like at the Oscar ceremony. And at these post-news conferences that we're going to have with athletes, should athletes be fearful of their well-being, their safety, if they say things that might be objectionable to the Chinese government? Or do they have assurances that they're going to be safe? I know what you would prefer. You don't want politics involved at all. That's the IOC perfect world, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Should the athletes be fearful if they decide they want to say something? Thank you.
The athletes enjoy the freedom of speech in these the press conferences or in the social media, and this is enshrined implicitly in the Rule 50, because the Rule 50 speaks only where you cannot, and there. And I think the same rules apply worldwide. I would suggest to every athlete, wherever the games are taking place or whenever an athlete is making a statement, that he does not insult other people, that he is not violating the rights of other people, but then expressing freely their opinion, and this is wherever. We had this in Tokyo. It will be here. It will be in Paris. That is irrespective of the host of the games.
Yeah, gentlemen, they're very eager to get to the microphone, so yes, sir. Yeah.
Kept on pointing at me, but yeah. David Ward from 7 News Australia here, just picking up on an earlier question there about Peng Shuai. Just for clarity, is it an issue of the IOC actually having no current information on her physical well-being and whereabouts, or just that it's not willing to say so publicly?
We said publicly we have this information, but so far only via a video conference, and I think this cannot replace the personal contact and appearance, and we know from her explanations during the video conferences that she is living here in Beijing, that what she is reporting, that she can move freely, that she's spending time with her family and friends, and now we will be able to do the next step in a personal meeting to convince us in person there of her well-being and of her state of mind.
Okay, I think I see Wakako there, and then we'll go to AP after that. Yeah, and then I'm afraid we're going to have to go to this side for a bit. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, President. Wakako Yuki from the Yomiuri Shimbun. Beijing and Tokyo were two Olympic Games back-to-back being held in pandemic situation, and we Japanese people somewhat feel legacies of the Games, as we know of, somewhat diminished. You've given a World Trophy to Seiko Hashimoto today with a comment that she would be, you hope, she would be the instrumental for the future changes in the society. What is your view toward the legacies that Olympic Games impact on the societies under these difficult circumstances? How long it takes for us to nourish? And if I may, Mark, and if I may, President, another question. Peace, yes, peacemaker and Olympic truce, which is quite important. Would you be meeting with the President Putin when he arrives in and talk about Olympic truth? Thank you.
Very much. We have heard today from the organizing committee about Tokyo, about the legacy of the Games. They have emphasized that more people in Tokyo are becoming physically active, what is obviously very important. and part of the health the policy of Japan and also other countries. We have also been informed that now, one after the other, the Olympic facilities are being made available for the public. We have also been informed about new technologies which have been applied in the organization for the Games, reducing carbon emissions and many more. All these are legacies of the Olympic Games. And with regard to Seiko Hashimoto, she got this prize there today. Not only or not primarily for her work there as the chair of the organizing committee, but for her long year engagement for gender equality and for diversity in Japan. And there, what we hear there and what obviously the jury, to which I do not belong, heard that there in Japan, that she achieved a lot, that she was a role model for women in leaderships, also one of the first female ministers in Japan, fighting also for LGBT plus rights, for diversity in the society, and this is therefore why the jury decided to award her this Women in Sports Awards, and I think she really deserves it, even if I'm not a member of the jury. Allow me this, that I think she really deserves this honor with all her achievements and efforts.
Second question.
What was it?
The peacemaking.
I made already an appeal today in the IOC session, and also I think the day before yesterday when opening the mural, to call on all the political authorities across the globe to respect their commitment to the Olympic truce, and this applies to all.
Thank you very much. AP, and then I'm afraid we're going to go across here for a bit because I've neglected this side. So yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Graham,
to be clear, and I will in no way enter into any political talks there. To leave no room for interpretation.
Thank you. Graham Dunbar from the Associated Press. To pick up again on the Olympic truce, you've identified yourself and the IOC very closely with the words of the resolution, especially before these Games. The first Olympic Games of your presidency, though, in 2014, during that Olympic truce period, Russia's actions in Crimea were during that period. Many people fear that it's going to happen again in the next 6 weeks of the Olympic truce period. How do you reconcile what many people believe is a big gap between the noble aims and words of it and the reality?
In fact, the resolution is a highly symbolic act. And this is recognized there also by the UN member states. It's not up to us to judge this. It's an initiative by the UN member states where the IOC has no right to vote. And it was initiated 3,000 years ago to safeguard the Games and to make the organization and the travel to and from the games safe for everybody. And this is also the core of the Olympic truce resolution of the UN, which is very important then for the athletes, for the games. In one games more, in other games less. It was extremely important in 2018, for instance. And there were, the games a couple of months before, where we were not sure whether we could have games on the Korean Peninsula, because we were not sure whether they could happen safely, with all the threats going back and forth, with nuclear tests and with threats of bombing and you name it. In other games, the political situation was more easy, and it is the IOC, has no power to ensure the respect of a UN resolution. This is up to the Security Council of the UN and the General Assembly. We can only appeal. We can only appeal, please respect your own commitment. And we can, because we are not a political organization, in talks there with then governments, we can only go so far and say, please do not touch the games and make the passage and the organization sure for all the athletes, for all the teams, for the media, for every participant in the games.
Thank you, President. Let's have a question in the language of the Coubertin now. Marc von Triac from L'Equipe, I think I see.
Yes, because Paris will be the city host of the next Olympic Games, I will ask my question in French. Deux questions en fait. Ce matin, il y a eu un petit débat avec 4 intervenants pour regretter, pour s'inquiéter de la position de la FIFA, de Gianni Infantino, concernant la Coupe du Monde de football tous les 2 ans. Vous avez indiqué que Gianni Infantino avait déclaré forfait pour cette session au dernier moment. Est-ce que vous savez pourquoi? Et ma deuxième question, où en est-on du cycle de désignation de la ville hôte des Jeux d'hiver 2030 et est-ce qu'elle sera connue cette année ou l'année prochaine? Merci.
Thank you. Regard to FIFA, Mr. Infantino has written me a letter the day before yesterday that because of the pandemic situation, he would not travel to Beijing and that he would follow the session from Cameroon where he would be for the semi-finals, obviously, and the finals of the Africa Cup. With regard to 2030, I don't know. Because it's in the hand of the winter sport, the future host commission. The latest information which I have dates a couple of months back, now maybe September, October or so, when I was informed there by the commission that they have a number of interested parties, and that there has been a dialogue with one or the other of them already, but that they would now wait for obvious reasons until after the Winter Games here in Beijing, and then intensify these contacts with the interested parties. But I had no indication on when this procedure will be finished. it will depend on the talks that they will have, I assume.
Okay, a few more questions. Let's go, gentlemen here, and then inside the games I see over there.
Good evening, Ian Axon from Reuters Television. If sport and politics don't mix, what's the IOC's view on the fact that Keith Falbo, a soldier involved in the skirmishes between China and India in 2020, carried the torch yesterday? And what would your message be to the Uyghur population of China on the eve of these games who say they are being oppressed?
Thank you very much for the question. With regard to the torch relay, I'm not aware there of details, but I remember very well that, for instance, in London 2012, we had a veteran from Afghanistan running the torch. And with regard to your second question, the Uyghur population, there, again, the position of the IOC must be, given the political neutrality, that we are not commenting on political issues, because otherwise, if we are taking a political standpoint and we are getting in the middle of tensions and dispute and confrontations of political powers, then we are putting the games at risk. If at the end you would have Olympic Games only between national Olympic committees whose governments agree on every political situation, the games would lose their universality, and with the universality they would lose their mission, and that would lead to the end of the Olympic Games. The mission, if we cannot accomplish our mission to bringing the world together, then we are at great risk, and therefore we are there. And this I have made reference before to the ancient games. So this already the ancient Greeks knew that if the games would be used would come in between the political tensions, which were high at the time, between Sparta and Athens and others, if the games would not be considered to be neutral, they would not have survived there for 1,000 years. And the moment when politics entered into the games with the Roman emperor, it was the end of the games for almost 2,000 years.
Thank you very much. Coming to our last questions inside the games, and then I think there's a lady with a green hat there. That will be our last question, yeah. So.
Michael Pavitt from Inside the Games. It's often said that Beijing 2008 was China's coming out party. What sort of message will these games show about China to the world and its role within the world?
China is a winter sport country.
Short and sweet. Okay, last question. Lady with the green hat. Thank you very much.
Hi, Sarah Germano with the Financial Times. My question is regarding the athletes who have so far tested positive for coronavirus and those that find themselves in isolation. We've heard some accounts of athletes finding that to be particularly difficult, especially from a mental standpoint. And to your point that the Olympics are supposed to be about bringing the world together, there is by definition a lot of isolation here. How do you reconcile those experiences?
We have a lot of sympathy and huge sympathy for all the people who are concerned with the pandemic and are infected and in isolation or are direct contact persons. And when I say everybody, allow me there also to say that what concerns me most and what goes most to my heart is about the athletes, because I can feel with them. Put yourself into the shoes of an athlete having made the qualification for Beijing for the Olympic Winter Games, coming here, getting off the plane and saying, I made it. Here I am now, my Olympic game, my Olympic dream is coming true. Then the athlete has to wait for a couple of hours, and then uncertainty comes in. Oh, I hope everything is going right, not knowing, sometimes for many hours, for too many hours, what is going on. And then in the worst case, getting a positive result, destroying maybe your Olympic dream, at least jeopardizing it. This is, mentally an extremely challenging situation. Extremely. You're working for years for this, and then all of a sudden, and you see, here I am, and then all of a sudden all this collapses, and I can feel with this, because I have a little bit of this experience, because when I participated there in the games and was already there, I had an injury, and it was not clear whether until the competition starts I can make it. And there I know how you feel. So, this, because we saw this coming, and this is why with the Athletes Commission we are making all these offers, for psychological assistance, the hotline. We're in contact with the NOCs so that they are well equipped to help the athletes. The other day we had a meeting with the Athletes Commission, the IOC Executive Board and our Athletes Commission. And there, we said, maybe it should be considered that in such cases one should not wait until an athlete is calling for help, but when we get to know about a case, call, take at least contact with the NOC. How is he or she? Is the athlete stable? Give information. What can you expect? When can you come out? So this is really for the athletes. It's terrible. I do not want to ignore, if it's happening to somebody from the media or from the IOC or from a federation or to whomever. But for the athletes, it's really the worst. And how we reconcile it. It is, this pandemic has isolated us, everybody, for a very long time and far too much. And the pandemic is also affecting the games. And this is, on the other hand, why we feel how much the athletes appreciate the games. We could see this, and we got this also as a message from the athletes, and we feel it here, that there in the games, what they appreciate most is that they happen because after all this social distancing, after all this isolation, they can finally come together, still having to respect rules, some of them, when being infected, suffering from isolation, but at least the effort is being made to bring people together and to show that even during such a pandemic, you can come together if everybody is making his or her contribution to the safety of the games, and in this games here, to the safe loop.
Thank you very much. We have gone over the hour, so I'm afraid we're going to have to call it a day there. Huge apologies to people we couldn't get to. You will have many chances to ask more questions. Since we were talking about theatre earlier on, let me thank the two supporting actors, particularly Brian, who didn't actually have a line in the end, so next production maybe. But President, thank you very much, and we'll see you again in a couple of days, I think.
Okay, thank you, and I hope we can all enjoy the games together. Looking forward to opening ceremony tomorrow evening. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.